fucking nuts.
Hello.
What's up? How you doing, babe?
I'm so good.
You're doing good?
Yeah.
We got our little mobile podcast setup situation. Yeah. And you like being close? You want to be close?
I like the closeness.
Because we don't get to do this on the podcast. Let's just, We'll do the show.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. You're looking at the show. We are recording from beautiful Palm Desert.
Yes.
A lot of people probably know Palm Springs. Palm Desert is just south of it. Mm-hmm. Same little area, little ritzy desert spot. And we are at the lovely Sands Hotel and Spa.
Yes.
You found it online. Because we were looking for a vacation. A quick vacation.
Yeah. It's been so wonderful.
Did you have a good time?
The best time.
It's our last day. We're going to leave right after we record this and head back into the shitty. And
shitty.
We're going to head back into the shitty. Do you want to talk a little bit about our journey to Palm Desert?
I suppose so.
I think we should probably discuss it.
Okay.
And then we can discuss it. How about that? So,
oh no.
So here's the deal, folks. Here's the sitch that we're in. So we live in Los Angeles, as many people know, and we came to Palm Springs, which is about 110, 130 miles away.
Right.
And we have an electric car, a Nissan Leaf 2018. We really enjoy it. It's not really a road trip car, and we know this,
right.
Because at its absolute maximum, fully charged, getting the best mileage you can, maybe 140 miles. If it's like 100%, you're not going crazy on the air conditioning and all this kind of stuff.
Right. The max I've seen is 150, but as soon as you hit the AC, it'll go down to like 145.
But again, and we'll talk about this a little, it's got two readouts on the dash, right? When you're looking at the battery. I obviously grew up in a family with all, non-electric cars.
Yeah.
We didn't have them. And I grew up, my whole family's in the automotive business. They fix cars for a living. So I very much grew up around body shops and mechanic shops and stuff. I'm not a car expert by any means, but my knowledge is a little higher than the layman. And I'm very used to a bunch of things that are standard in gas cars that are different in electric cars. Like, one of the things that drives me crazy about this car, which is totally just a getting used to it thing, you have to turn the car off for the doors to unlock. Around the late 90s, it became pretty standard that when you shift a car into park, whatever that means, when you go park, the doors unlock automatically. Right? And I'm very used to that. Every car I've ever gotten out of, park, and then you can just go. This one, you have to, it's a button, which a lot of cars now are buttons instead of shifters, which is fine. Even the gas ones, some of them work this way. But on this one, you press park, and now it's in park. But the doors don't unlock until you turn the car off. And there's no key, because most cars are push start now. This is one of them. So you got the fob just there. You have to turn, you have to hit park, then you got to get, so it's all this little shit, right? It's kind of annoying, because then I go to hit park, and then I go and I can't get out of the car, and I'm like, fuck, now I have to turn it off, which is a good reminder, because you don't hear it running, and you don't take the key out. So it is a good little reminder to turn the actual car off. Otherwise, I often forget to turn the fucking car off. So we're dealing with a few different new things. On the dash, it's got two different readouts. It's got a percentage of the overall battery that goes to 100, and then it's got right next to that to the right a mileage estimate. It's not a guarantee. Right. It's all depending on how the car is currently operating. You probably have this too in your gas car. If you have a gas car, it'll give you like 30 miles to empty, 40 miles to empty. But that's not, it's an estimate. It's not a guarantee that you've got 40 miles left to go. And of course, in any vehicle, you don't want to run it down to zero.
Yeah.
So we always have a difference of opinion in what we look at. You always look at the miles. I always look at the percentage. Because to me, I'm like, the estimate, who gives a shit what it guesses I've got left in it? I'm looking at percentage. And so we know this car can go at best all the way to Palm Springs if we don't have any problems without stopping. But when we get there, it's going to be dead.
Right.
It's going to be almost dead.
Right.
So we theorized, like, what do we want to do about this? Should we stop along the way and give it a boost and then keep going?
Yeah.
So what we ended up doing is we got up on the day when we left.
No, before you start that,
Yeah.
I did some research on my own before the trip. And
Pardon me.
because I knew we would have to find, either a midpoint spot to charge the car or like closer to where we were staying.
Right.
So I did a little bit of research ahead of time of like where would be a good place. And so that's something to keep in mind.
Yeah, we put thought into it, and we decided, we would do okay stopping along the way, give it a little boost, but we learned something about our car this week, pretty significant, because we were driving along the way. It looked like we were going to make it, and then for whatever reason, the mileage estimate and the percentage, they both just started to kind of go quickly. Part of it was we were driving pretty fast. We're on the highway, but we're doing fast highway, right? So you're going to get good mileage around 50, 60 miles an hour. 80 miles an hour, your overall mileage is going to start dropping on all cars. That's just how it goes. We're doing this. There's room to go fast, so we're going fast, and our overall mileage is kind of dropping. And I'm looking at the numbers. I'm looking at the GPS. I'm like, we're not going to make it. Literally, we're not going to make it all the way. We're going to have to stop at some point. So we go on the app for the chargers. There's many, but there's a few. I shouldn't say there's many. There's like 3 or 4 main charging companies around the country and in California. We click on one in particular, and I'm like, babe, find us one that's X number of miles from where we're at. Maybe 50 miles or so, I think. It'd be a good place to charge it. You find us a spot in a Walmart, and I'm like, perfect, because we need to do a little shopping for the trip. We'll get some drinks and snacks while it charges. Walmart usually has many chargers when you go to a Walmart.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is perfect. We find it, and I'm not really, which I take equal, maybe not equal. I take some responsibility for what ended up happening because I wasn't paying attention to the redirect. At some point, here's the thing if you don't know. LA to Palm Springs is a straight shot. It's I-10. Once you get on I-10, you're on the road you're going to be on. And it is west to east. It is a straight line. At one point, we end up exiting towards San Diego, which is south of LA. And I didn't really clock it. I'm like, oh, maybe it's a little out of the way. But we're talking, we're jamming in music. I'm not paying attention to what's going on. And then we get to this Walmart. We plug in. And it's kind of a pain in the ass, to get the swipe. But we finally get it charging. We're like, all right, cool. We go inside. We get some snacks and drinks. Get a little ice cream. Take a little ice cream break. We're chilling, just waiting for the car to charge. We go back. We're like, all right, it's at like 70%.
Yeah.
But there's an hour limit on the machine. So we're like, all right, that'll be fine. That's plenty to get us the rest of the way, though, because we've been driving for an hour and a half. It's a 2-hour trip. We should be almost there. I go to plug in the GPS to get us the rest of the way. An hour and 42 minutes. I'm like, how the fuck are we still an hour and 42 minutes away? We haven't been driving for 20 minutes.
Right.
This math is not adding up. And then I kind of zoom out on the map. I'm like, where are we exactly right now? And we had, instead of going here to here, we've now gone here to here. We've now created a triangle situation where we've essentially turned what should be a 2-hour trip is going to end up being like a 3.5-hour trip because of the path to go down to we were like in Escondido. Somewhere around there.
Close to there.
Yeah, in that neighborhood, like closer to San Diego than we were to Palm Springs at this point. And I have to say, there's so much that's happened in my life. At this point, I've gone through so much crazy, weird shit that I didn't lose it.
He was, okay, to be fair, he was so nice about it. Like, I felt horrible.
You did.
Because I'm not great at directions.
Right.
I already know that about myself. Growing up, I was never in charge of directions. It was either my dad or my brother. So I never like built the skill set to learn the, you know.
Well, and you are also, we're only a few years apart. I was born in 88, you're born in 93, but that little gap was just enough so that when you started driving and navigating yourself in a car, GPS was everywhere. Everyone had a GPS. Yeah, we had the TomToms and stuff. And then like fucking 20 minutes after that, you got your iPhone, had a pretty good GPS.
Like
So
I remember MapQuest.
You're not used to maps.
I remember MapQuest being a thing, but it wasn't.
But you're not from the generation, which I can't believe I'm saying, like we're not that far apart. But I grew up at a time when you had a map in the car.
Right, I didn't have that.
Like you had an atlas or a book, you know, an atlas, a book of different maps of the state or the area, and you would like go to the back in the index and find the city, and then you have to go back and do the like chessboard thing of find it on the thing, and then, you know, everything was north, south, east, west.
Right.
And I'll give you some credit because even before your time and mine, there have always been both kinds of people, right? Maybe you know which one you are, but I think there's become a lot more of the second kind. The first kind are people who think in terms of a map. They think in terms of cardinal directions.
Yes.
It's south 100 miles. It's east, and then you go north a little bit, right? We're thinking about it as if you're standing over the map and doing this. And even when there was no GPS, there were people who are landmark people. Go down to the Walmart. If you hit the red barn, you've gone too far.
Yeah.
Second stop sign. All of this like directional directions. You know, navigating by directions based on the map. I've always been a map guy. I'm also like I was like a nerd about maps. I just liked them.
Yeah.
And then when I was in high school and I moved to Manhattan, you got to know maps.
Right.
You got to. It's east, it's west, it's north, it's south, it's this street, it counts up. And it's a fucking grid. You got to know it's 8 blocks north. And, you know, so I've just been programmed that way my whole life. And it's to this day, I find less and less people who think of it as in terms of cardinal directions. They think of it as...
but I think it's also like I second guess myself.
Right.
Like I said, I did the research before the trip.
Right.
I already found a couple places along the way, but then once we were on the way, and that's when I went on the app, and that's where I fucked up because it wasn't thinking of it in terms of LA to Palm Desert. It was just wherever we were currently
50 miles from where we were.
Yeah.
And it was basically a 90-degree difference in direction. Instead of finding one 50 miles that way, you found one 50 miles that way.
And I was specifically looking for
like a fast charger. Yeah.
And so that also was a component.
So here's part 2, right? So we're at the Walmart, right? We realize we have 2 choices in navigation. We can go back up north. We can go north up back to I-10 and do that. Or there's a shorter path that's about 15 minutes shorter, and we've already taken a longer trip. So I'm like, we'll just do this. That kind of goes up. Like instead of going up and over to Palm Springs, we're going to kind of zigzag to it.
Yes.
And I was like, why not? Like, I don't see a reason why not to take this path. Looking back, I don't know if it was the wrong call. But either way, we ended up out in the desert, very much in the desert, and I believe the San Bernardino Mountains.
We were in the mountains.
The national forest, right? Big rocks,
we were really high up at one point.
At the end of it, we came out of the mountains like, yo, Palm Desert is 3,000 feet below where we're at. We were up there. Like, how do we get up here? We ended up climbing a mountain and going down on the way back, which ended up being a value because when you go in this particular car, the way the battery works is it uses the braking to recharge the battery. So we actually had a better charge at the end of that trip than we should have by like 20% on the battery, because we went downhill for
down a mountain.
Yeah, down a mountain, just braking the whole way.
Right.
And so that kind of worked out. But here's the thing we learned about our Nissan Leaf that we didn't know about our car. If you've got a 2018, 2019 Nissan Leaf and you don't know this already, spoiler alert, this is news to us. So we found out that this car, and we had to look it up because it happened to us. I'm driving. We've charged it now 3 times, fast charge in one day. We charged it at Nissan in the morning to make sure we were at full. We hit the road eventually. Then we got to the Walmart. We charged to 70%. Realized we had further to go. That wasn't going to be enough. So we needed more charge. So after our 60-minute session, we charged it for another bit. And the second bit to get it to 100 took way longer. It was charging so much slower. We ended up charging for probably an hour and 40 minutes overall. So now we put it in a fast charger 3 times. Not a good call.
Never done that.
Yeah, never done that. Not a good call. It's also 110 degrees outside because it's the desert, right? Yeah. So we find out that this particular car, if you supercharge it, or fast charge it, whatever, multiple times back to back. And I don't know how much back to back it's got to be for this to happen, but we did it. It overheats the battery, and you get a little warning that we'd never seen pop up on the dash, and a little turtle symbol. There's a little turtle pops up.
There's a turtle and a little puppy on the dash. Yeah.
I still haven't seen the puppy. I'm excited for this mistake. So the turtle pops up and a little warning that says batteries overheated, slow down, basically. And it starts to what we would call throttle the power of the vehicle, meaning you press the gas all the way down or the accelerator all the way down. It's no gas. You press the accelerator all the way down and the car speeds up. Well, in this case, I got it all the way to the metal and I'm going 45 miles an hour on a 55 mile an hour back road with a line forming behind me of people like, yo, what are we doing? And I'm like, I can't go any faster. Like almost like when you're going uphill in a weak vehicle, like a U-Haul, you're taking up a mountain.
My old car, the Mini Cooper.
Yeah, the Mini Cooper. It just doesn't have the fucking power to go up.
Yeah.
So we're out in the desert in 110 degree heat. And our car is basically saying like, you probably should just stop. Like you probably need to chill out. We pull off the road. We give it about 10 minutes to cool off, thinking hopefully that'll make some difference. Turn it back on. There's no ignition. I'm so old school with this. So
push the
turn
button.
it back on, and we go for about 7 miles. Boom! It dings back on. Slow down. You're fucked. And I'm like, okay. Right. We go a little bit more. It's driving. It's not shutting off. It just has a limit. We go a little bit more. We find a gas station and a Dairy Queen. I'm like, let's have fucking Dairy Queen for dinner.
We also had to find a shady area
to try to let it cool down because we're like, if it's out in the 100 degree heat, it's not going to cool off.
Right.
So we at least got to, and depending on where you live, I grew up in Texas where the shade doesn't really make that much of a difference. Like you go in the shade and you're like, it's a little better. In California, because of like the wind and shit, it's like a 15 degree dip. Like you can feel it. You just step into the shade and you're like, this isn't so bad. So we're like, we'll park it in the shade. We'll have some chicken fingers or some shit, and then we'll get back on the road. We do. It doesn't help. We're back on the road 10 miles. Bing. It's still overheating. I'm like, God damn. So I end up looking this up on like online message boards and forums and stuff. And this is a thing with this car. They call it #RapidGate. Like, they add gate to everything since Watergate for the scandal. Right. It's RapidGate. This car, if you try to fast charge it too many times back to back, it's going to do this. This is like a known issue with this particular year and make and model of car, which we didn't know because we never tried a road trip with it before. So we're like, the best way to put it is we're limping to the fucking finish line trying to get here.
And we're trying to make it by sundown.
Yeah, because
we're
we don't
on
wanna
a
be
fucking mountain.
We don't be stuck on the mountainside in the dark.
Yeah.
The sun is setting maybe on our lives, and we're trying to figure out what is happening. So
we made it safely.
luckily, right as the car was kind of being like, I don't know if I can do this anymore, it was all downhill. So we just were charging the car literally by braking all the way down this mountain.
Being in the passenger seat, it felt like I was in a video game.
Like an Indiana Jones ride, you said too. It was just like very, I mean, it wasn't like a mountain. It was like a mountain. Like we are just like sharp turns left and right. And I'm also trying to go fast enough that we don't get stuck on the side of the mountain in the dark.
Right.
And so I'm like
there
trying to
was
get
so
down.
much happening.
It was a trip. It was a fucking trip to get here.
He loves me so much. We got through it. He was so nice. My mistake.
So sorry. Your mistake. It was absolutely crazy. But you know, it's weird. I think I was just saying, I've just had enough happen in my life that I don't want to get angry. I can remember a time in my life when I would have been like, just like, fuck this, it's fucking, and it would have ruined my night.
Yeah.
I would have been like, I just want to get to the hotel. I want to take a shower because I feel like shit. I want to go to bed. I'm going to ruin this. This has ruined the trip at the beginning. And it didn't end up doing that. It's from the moment I realized, I was like, it's like we just drove all this way for nothing to come to this very special Walmart. But I didn't get upset. It just didn't bother me. I was like, this is a drag. And by the end of it, I was tired because this 2-hour trip became a 5-hour trip.
All the stops
and and once we were on the road the second time, I was like, well, it's kind of a drag. It's long, but whatever. And then we kept having to stop the car and could only go 40 miles an hour. And I was like, oh my God, now it's like, are we ever going to get there?
Right.
And we passed the casino. I was like joking, like, babe, should we just fucking cancel our reservation, just hit this casino? This is our new vacation. This is where we made it to. We'll just be here now. But we didn't. We made it all the way to Palm Desert. I've never been here before. I actually have generational family from here. They don't live here now. They're not alive anymore. But my dad's mom's mom is from Santa Monica, and my dad's mom's aunt owned a nail salon and a cosmetology place out here in Palm Springs. So it felt cool to kind of be in this neighborhood and be connected to that legacy, because all the rest of my family is from Texas, Oklahoma, very much that part of the country. And I have this kind of history here. And I have a bunch of my Aunt Ola, I always fuck their names up. I have a bunch of my great aunt and great great aunt and my great great grandmother's things from the shop that came into my possession when my grandmother passed. And it's a cool connection. I'm not going to say it again. Stop talking to me. So it really has been a cool thing. And we found this great place that is a renovated old school hotel from the 50s. And just a few years ago, they renovated the whole thing from top to bottom and gave it this very cute boutique retro makeover. Yeah. And it's fucking adorable. This place is so cool. Yeah. You're not really getting the full vibe here. I mean, this is a great headboard. But we, if you follow us on Instagram, you'll see a lot of shots at the pool. They have a nice restaurant on site that we've had food at now twice. It's delicious.
And shout out to Sands for having chargers for our car.
They had a charger in the parking lot that we could actually charge it overnight. Yeah, it's a huge game changer for us. Yeah. We'll see how long it takes to get back given the charge. But it's been a good trip. I mean, definitely a reset, being in the desert in August is an experience. If you haven't done it, skip it maybe. But overall, it's a really cool place to visit. I'm excited to come back here. Yay. I think it's going to be a cool spot to revisit. Yeah. Really enjoyed the pool and the hot tub and stuff out there, which is right outside the room. I love that.
So great. Yeah.
It is the best. There's nothing worse than when you get to a hotel and they're like, go to the pool. And you're like, okay. And you got to go 2 elevators and down the hall, and it's in the other building or it's out over here. This is you walk out and you go down the steps and there's a fucking pool. And they have poolside service, like a country club. They'll bring you
we had breakfast poolside.
Breakfast, cocktails, whatever you're trying to do, right by the pool, which is great. I didn't grow up going to places like that.
Yeah.
So definitely got our value at it. We had a nice dinner at Ruth's Chris last night. That
delicious.
Was amazing. For those of you who have been paying attention to my Instagram, you know that I haven't been smoking marijuana for about a month and a half at this point, almost.
A month.
A couple here and there. Well, I really haven't had almost anything since before we went to Texas.
Oh, okay.
So it's been almost a month and a half. And I was having vivid dreams, crazy dreams that I was waking up from mentally exhausted, like I had been in some kind of like a trip. It felt like I had been, and you haven't done a lot of hallucinogenic drugs, but I have, and it is exhausting. When you're done tripping, you're like, whoa, like I need to go to bed. Like that was exhausting. Well, and what are you supposed to do when you wake up from your trip and you're already in bed? You've been in bed for 8 hours.
Right.
I was dealing with this. I've kind of leveled out. And I also was having the same problem. So the problem I was having with the weed was I was smoking the weed and it was making me, giving me this chest discomfort. I've been to the doctor, I had all the blood taken, all the tests done. They say I'm totally good. I've felt a lot better since going to the doctor and having all that handled, which is fantastic. I really appreciate that, Kaiser. But last night I was like, you know what? I haven't been drinking. I haven't been smoking. I've been like actually like fully sober except for like caffeine, which I haven't been in like 12 years. And so I've never been a big drinker. I don't want to become a big drinker. But last night I was like, I'm going to drink. I'm going to go slow, but I'm going to drink and I'm going to see how I feel, see if this affects me the way the weed was, because it had been. I was pretty good. Had a pretty fucking great night. She doesn't drink at all. If you don't know this about Candace, she's teetotal zero. She used to have a pretty serious problem. She went off the rails for a while, was binge drinking every night for about 5 years. It was a problem. They intervened. They got her back on the right track.
True.
She doesn't drink, though. She doesn't drink at all. So when I drink, it's my solo thing, and she's got to kind of take care of me. She's very patient with me in that. I appreciate that a lot. I had a margarita with appetizers. I had a glass of red wine with the steak. Both amazing. And then I got back to the hotel, and the bar was still open by the pool. And, they give it to you in a plastic cup. You can go have your cocktail by the pool. And I had a gin and tonic, and the lady came around to take an order. And I was like, yeah, Bombay Sapphire, whatever you got, gin is fine. And it's the first time I've ever had someone take a drink order and go, Bombay what? It's like one of the most popular gins in the world. Every flight you go on, if you order a gin and tonic off the cart, it's probably Bombay Sapphire. It's like a go-to. So it's not my favorite gin, but it's one I like that I know they always have. She comes back, we don't have it. And I was like, okay, I'll just go in there. So I go in there, I go to the bar, and I'm looking at the shelf, and I find the gin shelf. I see Hendrick's, which I know, because it's also in the room in the mini bar. So I was like, they got Hendrick's, which is a good gin. But I was like, I don't recognize any of these gins. And I asked the bartender, I was like, tell me about your gin. And he starts kind of going on. He makes me a gin and tonic with, I think it was called a Mass. It's an LA distillery that makes it. And I was like, oh, this is good. I had it. It was a good one. But he's like, before you go, I was like, what's your favorite? And he's like, before you go, I'll give you a sample taste of this other one called Monkey 47. And I'm like, the fuck is this? And I'm not a huge drinker, but I do like gin. I try this Monkey 47, like kind of half shot he gives me, and I'm like, fucking good. I'm going to drink this Amass gin and tonic, which I was only going to have one. But I was like, I really want another drink with this monkey shit in it. I go back in. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty toasty. I'm already good. But I'm like, I'm going to break my rule. It's not a like hard rule, but I have a general rule of I'm like a 2-3 drink guy. Very unusual for me to have a fourth drink in a night.
Yeah.
That like never happens. But I'm like, I'm drinking tonight, whatever. And I feel fine. And I want to try this monkey shit. I go back in. I'm like, make me the Monkey 47 gin and tonic. The first one, I think, and this is a hotel. First drink is a $15 gin and tonic, which if you know, that's kind of pricey for a fucking gin and tonic. It's a gin and tonic water. There's nothing else in this drink. But I had a $15 one and I was like, all right, whatever it is, I don't give a shit. Just load me up with the monkey. And I load up the monkey and goddamn if it wasn't the best gin and tonic I've ever had in my fucking life. Tanqueray is my favorite, but I don't order it very much because it is a really high alcohol content. Like most gins, you're at like 30-something%. Tanqueray's like a 45% or some crazy shit.
He enjoyed it a lot.
Tell him about it, babe. Tell him how I was after my Monkey 47.
He was feeling good.
How often have you seen me like that? I'm not a messy drunk either. I'm not like falling down. I didn't get sick. I don't get sick from drinking. I'm just not capable of drinking silly. That much. But I was
silly.
Don't remember the end of the night. I don't. We got back here and I don't remember going to sleep. I don't remember the end of the day. I told her when I was getting fucked up, I was like, make sure I take an Advil before I go to sleep. Because that's a trick. If you don't know this trick, do this trick. I don't know if it works for everybody. I don't know if it works for how much other people drink. But when I turned 21, I went out drinking. I called my mom earlier in the night. It was my birthday. I talked to my mom. She was like, you going out tonight? I was like, yeah. She was like, if you're going to drink a lot. She was like, take 2 Tylenol before you go to bed. And I was, before I go to bed? I thought you take it in the morning for the hangover. She was like, take it the night before. You won't have a hangover. I was like, okay. I did it that night that I turned 21. I woke up the next day groggy because I drink a lot. That's probably still the most I've ever had. And no hangover, though. And it works. It works for me. So Tylenol, Advil, whatever you got, take one before you go to sleep. And when you wake up, it really makes a huge difference. So I was fine today. If anything, I was just full from all the food we had. That was delicious. So Monkey 47. Sponsor the podcast. I will sell your shit like you don't even understand. God. I don't believe funny. In, slinging stuff I don't like. And man, it was amazing. Which is, and if you like gin, I don't know if other people feel this way that like it, but they're not that different. It's not like whiskey or bourbon when you're like, whoa, this is like a totally different drink every time. Gin is gin for the most part. There's shitty ones and there's pretty much better ones, but I've never had one that was so sweet. It had so many different flavors in it. When I had the sample shot just dry, it felt like a wine. Like I was like tasting it in different parts of my mouth. I was like, and I'm not that kind of dude, but I am now. Monkey 47, everybody.
Yeah, but this trip has been so wonderful. Feel so refreshed. I start school again next week.
Yep, I'm right back to work later today.
Second to last term.
Yeah.
Wild.
Absolutely.
It's been a wild journey.
You're almost done, babe. 2/3 of the way.
Yeah. Very
proud of you. You're very, very hardworking. You've been getting great grades. Not that I care about that, but you do a little bit, and I'm happy for you. We wanted to record just a mini episode. This is going to be the end of it. It's just a short little episode for you guys because we didn't get a chance to do one this last weekend because we were prepping for the trip and trying to get everything together. Not reading enough about our car, apparently. But thanks for hanging out with us for a little bit in our hotel room bed set. We're going to see about taking this headboard back with us to add to the set at home. We'll see how they are Very about cute. That. Yeah, I love it. It's like little pink puzzle pieces. Delicious.
Love you, babe.
Love you. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Yo, you watched a whole episode of We Are New, the best podcast with viewers in the double digits. I hope you enjoyed it. There's more episodes and clips available for you in these locations. So please click on them and watch them. Maybe you want to know more about us. Maybe you want to feel like you're our friends. Well, we're very selective about our friends in real life, but you can feel like you're our friend if you watch more of our content. Thank you.